Aha! So you have been appointed as a crime scene investigator, called upon to examine a potential evidentiary scene at either the setting of A Rose for Emily, Where Have You Been, Where Are You Going, excuse me, where Are You Going, Where Have You Been, or the short story Sweat. It sounds kind of imaginative, and I hope you will find the assignment certainly challenging, but also an opportunity to have some fun and be creative. By this time, you should have read the instructions to the crime scene report. And as a matter of fact, before I go any further, why don't you go ahead and get a printout of the instructions for the crime scene report, and also print out a copy of the student sample, the one that has the Acadia Parish Sheriff's Office logo at the top of it. That's one of the 3 sample papers that you'll find there in Module 1. When you got those printouts, come back and hit the resume button, and we'll talk about where we're going with this. Okay, first of all, it's worth noting that we are surveying, in the course, if you read the syllabus, genres of composition. You may have studied genre before as a literary term, genres of literature. You know, the novel, the short story, the poem. Genres of composition is a rhetorical term, and it refers to different categories of writing for different purposes and for different audiences. And one of the aims of the syllabus for this course, if you read it carefully, we're going to notice how your approach to a writing assignment changes according to your purpose and according to your audience. Technical writing is the first of the genres we're going to take up, and I've chosen the crime scene report because, quite frankly, it's kind of a popular deal these days with the popularity of TV programs like CSI. It's also, I think, an appropriate way to engage imaginatively the short stories. It requires and involves legitimate literary analysis, but it's going to allow you also to be creative at the same time. If you've read the assignment, you notice that you have 3 stories to choose from. Either one of these stories has a potential crime scene at the end of it, and you're going to put yourself in the position of, or you're going to adopt the persona of the crime scene investigator that's going to report to the crime scene and investigate the crime. Remember this as you approach this task. One of the frequent mistakes students make, if we have fire and emergency personnel in the class, y'all know the difference. There's a role and investigation that a police officer, a responding police officer, is going to carry out at a crime scene, but there's a totally different role and investigative procedure that the CSI, the crime scene examiner, the crime scene investigator, is going to follow at the scene. The crime scene investigator is going to come after the policemen have already been there. And remember, as you write your crime scene report, you're not writing from the perspective of the policeman that gets on the scene first, or even of the detective. You're writing as someone who has come there with specialized training to search the scene to gather evidence. And the models that I provided for you provide good examples of that kind of writing. That's one of the frequent side trails that students wander off in this assignment that gets them into trouble sometimes. They think they incorrectly put themselves in the persona of a policeman that's come there investigating the scene. All right, you're coming along after that. One of the best parts of the best part of the instructions, I think, is the written documentation at a crime scene by Mike Bird from the Miami-Dade Police Department. Look at that handout right now. That's on the second page of your printout of the instructions. Mike Bird's piece is valuable because he gives you, first of all, a sample of a crime scene summary, which is one of the introductory parts that you usually find on a crime scene report. And he also identifies additional sections that a crime scene report is going to have. And this is the standard of the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. The crime scene report is going to have a summary scene. It's going to have a processing section, evidence collected, and pending. Those are listed on the third page and described. You're going to notice when you look at the examples, I have 2 professional examples in Module 1, and I've also got the student sample, the student that wrote the Acadia Parish Sheriff's Office criminal incident record. What you're going to notice is that all 3 of those reports are somewhat alike, but they're all somewhat different. not one of them has exactly the categories that Mike Bird says an ideal crime scene report is going to have. For that reason, I want you to understand you do have some liberty. I'm not holding you to a strict account to have, Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4. Summary, scene, processing, evidence collected, pending. I don't expect you to follow that outline. Use the two samples, the Izzard murders and the Troy Police Department, as examples. Use the instructions that Mike Bird gives. Use the Acadia Parish incident report. That Acadia Parish, the reason I include that particular example as a student example, it's one of the best papers a student has ever done this assignment. But the writer is also an EMT. He's had professional training and experience in this, and you see the approach that he takes to the assignment, the very detailed, meticulous, methodical observation of the scene. I want you to notice that. Let's go ahead and look at that handout right now. The Acadia Parish Sheriff's Office official incident report. That student Justin Hanks, I think he is still an LSU student. You'll notice in the scene description, which is the most detailed part of the report, it begins on the second page. It's written as a first-person narrative. That's consistent with Mike Bird's instructions in the crime scene report instructions. You write a first-person narrative of what you get, noting the conditions on the scene, describing what you do in chronological order. You'll notice also, I'm not going to read this piece to you. You should read it on your own. But as you do read it, I want you to notice that in addition to the first-person chronological, step-by-step methodological examination of the scene, the crime scene investigator has to touch the evidence. If there's a body, you got to put on your latex gloves, turn it over. You have to look at it from head to toe. You have to turn it over to see the parts that you can't see. You've got to be meticulous in your inspection, your examination. Very, very important. And here again, all three of the samples that I have put in provide good examples. Is you have to be dispassionate in your writing. You have to be very accurate in your description, but your description has to be highly objective. Any subjectivity at all in the paper or in the report is going to get you in trouble, because your job as the crime scene investigator is not to figure out what happened. That's why the detectives will try to do that. The district attorney's staff will try to put together the pieces of the puzzle. You're there simply to describe what you see, what you find, and what you collect as evidence. So remember that. You've got to be very careful and very guarded in the use of language and the choice of words that does not suggest emotion and does not suggest that you have a vested interest or that you're trying to figure out what happened. And there again, Mike Bird's instructions in the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office section, he goes over that point. If you're old enough to remember Joe Friday and the old Dragnet TV show, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. That's your job as the crime scene reporter. Okay, that's a pretty good introduction to it. When you start posting your drafts in the Look What I Wrote forum, you'll start getting response and feedback from me and other students to help keep you on the right track and to keep you focused. But I hope you find it to be a rewarding assignment. It's a great exercise in technical writing. It's actually probably more like the writing that many of you will do in your careers than the writing that you did in English 1001, which tends to be kind of phony and artificial forms that don't exist outside of English 1001. This is a little more real life. And you'll also see, to look ahead, we'll be practicing some other genres of composition, and we're going to note from assignment to assignment how your voice is going to change as the writer, how you're going to adapt your writing to a different audience, to a different purpose. Okay? I'm excited. I hope you are too. I'll see you in the Look What I Wrote forum when you begin posting your drafts.